Let's fill in my reading journal for the books that I read in June of 2025. Hi, friends. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Torey, and clearly I am very behind in filling in my reading journal. I have been in just the most ridiculous reading slump the last few months. And it has been a slump that has encompassed both reading and also actually doing things in my reading journal. And I think I've gotten to the point where it's actually really starting to bother me. So, a couple of weeks ago, I actually sat down and decided I was going to force myself to fill in these June pages of my reading journal. And I also printed out all of the books that I read in both July and August as well. So all I need to do is sit down and get those in here as well. The setup that I am doing for this month, because I am in such a slump, is going to be much simpler than the stuff that I have been doing for the previous months of the year. And something that I constantly have to remind myself of is that my journal can evolve over time. And just because I was doing something at the beginning of the year doesn't mean I have to keep doing that throughout the entire year if I want to change things up because it's just not working for me anymore. So, for my setup this month, I am just going to be doing a cover calendar page, and then I'm going straight into book reviews. For my previous monthly setups or recaps, I guess, I was doing a cover page, a calendar page, and then I was doing a challenges page, a stats page, and then going into my monthly or my reviews for the books that I read that month. And this month, because I already knew that I was struggling with coming into this journal anyways, I decided to just be easy on myself. And I am doing very simple decorations, and I'm not doing a ton of setup either. So, as you can see, I have just put down two different kinds of tapes. I've got a really thin, not super thin, but like a normally thin washi tape that I purchased from an Etsy shop. And I will link that down below if you like it. It's more of like a distressed grid pattern. And then I have this floral lace washi that I received and for like a collaboration video from the washi tape shop. I specifically requested this one when they reached out to me, and I am so happy I did because I love it so much. So I decided that because I loved this tape so much and I thought it looked so good with this grid tape, that that was going to be all of the decoration that I would be doing for this setup. I'm also going to place down all of the book covers on this page, and I'm just going to put my visual time to read calendar right across both of these two pages. Um, and that's pretty much going to be it for this page. I am using a Faber-Castell brush pen, and these are like oil-based brush markers. So I think that they work a little bit better if you are coloring them on photopolymer stamps, which is what I just did right there. And then I am going to fill in all of my star ratings. For the month of June, that is the month that I really started slowing down my reading. I read 4 books. I finished reading Great Expectations by Charles Dickens. I read Fragile Facade by Nordika Knight, Forever by Sloane Kennedy, and then Caught Up by Naavessa Allen. And the first 2 books I really enjoyed. And then Forever it actually wasn't what I was expecting. But it was fairly good. And then I did not enjoy Caught Up pretty much at all. Like I almost DNF'd that one. But we will talk about the books a little bit later on in the video. So I've got all of that down. I used that same green marker that I used to stamp out the star ratings to actually color in my star ratings. And then I'm going to go ahead and draw my monthly calendar. This is staying basically the same as it has been for the entire year, I feel like, honestly, where I am just doing a calendar where the boxes are 3 dot grid spaces wide by 4 dot grid spaces tall. And then I am making the calendar itself just either a square or a rectangle. And any days that are not actually a part of the month that I'm filling in, I am just going to be filling in with like a grid pattern with my pen. And that has been working out really well for me for this year in particular. So I went ahead and I continued on doing that for this setup as well. Um, yeah, pretty much. I am also going to use that same green marker to color in the very first row of each of these weeks so that I can put the dates in there. And I'm not going to be adding any additional stickers or anything like that. Like I did say at the beginning, I was just keeping this very, very simple because I didn't want to make it too overly complicated that I would just kind of stop halfway through and not come back and actually finish it. I recently got this like rubber alphabet stamp set from like a random store in my town, and I don't even know like how to describe the store to you. It's one of those like vintagey type stores where people just go in and like put all their stuff up and like sell it. I don't know what those are called, but I went there with a friend recently and I found this set of wooden stamps and I purchased them because I just loved them so much. But once I stamped those out, I really did not like the way that it looked. So I went ahead and I grabbed this stamp set by Heba Alzabai Creates, and I will link this below for you as well if you are interested in it. I really enjoy this stamp set, so I went ahead and I covered up the original June title with just a piece of paper from the back of my notebook. And I'm going to use this new photo polyburn stamp set and I'm going to stamp out June. You'll notice that when I'm stamping this out, there is certain areas where I'm pressing just a little bit harder. I think you can kind of see my thumb turn a little bit white when I push on it. And I am doing that because I added an extra piece of paper to cover up that original stamping. I find that just pushing a little bit harder in those areas, but not too hard that it makes the stamp smudge, kind of helps keep the image looking more seamless. You can also just like color in the areas that might have a little bit of a white space showing from the difference in layers on the paper. But either way, it worked out pretty well for me just to push a little tiny bit harder in those areas. Here I am just filling in that grid pattern on any of the days that don't actually belong in the month of June. And looking at this calendar, I don't think I noticed this when I was actually filling this in. This calendar also has a very pleasing layout. I do my calendars Monday to Friday, and this calendar has all of the exact same days that aren't in the month at both the beginning and the end. And I noticed this for the month of October this year as well, filling in my bullet journal, like I was sketching out the calendar in that. October has 2 days and at the beginning of the month and 2 days at the end of the month that are not in that month too for this year. And I think it's so pleasing. Let me know if that's something that you enjoy as well down in the comments. I am getting all of the monthly dates added to the calendar, and then I will just pull out some of my more commonly used Tombow markers, basically different shades of tans, taupes, and like warm grays to color in all of the actual days that I was reading a certain book. I do want to think that the reason I read so few books this month is because I was reading Great Expectations for a lot of the month, but I don't think that is the reason why. I think that this was just the very beginning of the slump that I ended up in. But for a while, I think I was just telling myself it was because of Great Expectations. So I'm now in a different part of my journal here because I did print out the mini book covers to add to my book cover pages. So I'm going to go ahead and get those cut out and added to my book cover page. And then we will flip back over to my June spread and get the individual book pages done as well. Similar to my primary like cover calendar books read page here that we're on right now, my book review pages are going to have essentially the same exact kind of decoration. I kept these all very, very simple again, just for the sake of me actually finishing it and hopefully getting back into coming into this journal. So I am primarily going to be sticking with a lace washi tape or lace PET tape and one color for each book. Because Great Expectations was the very first one I did, I just went ahead and I stuck with the original tape that I used on the cover page. I probably wouldn't have done this if I had had the idea that I was just going to be using the lace PET tapes that I have, but I don't think that it's too much of an issue. I think it looks fine as it is. And it did inspire me for how I was going to be doing the rest of the pages, so I'm not mad at it. Plus, I just love this PET tape. So I am going to set all of these pages up almost exactly the same. I will have 3 sections on each page, all outlined with a different color. For this first one, I chose this kind of olive green just because it really matches that PET tape super well. For the other books, I am choosing a marker that I think matches fairly well with the actual book covers, and that's how those ones will go. I am also going to have a little section just for the star rating and then a little section for my thoughts as well. I am going to use my star rating stamp set, just the one that has the individual star ratings from my Etsy shop. I don't have this one in stock currently, but I do have a new star rating stamp that has different variations of ways you can rate items that we'll be releasing in November, and it does have these stars on it as well. So if that is something that you're interested in, definitely go like favorite my Etsy shop so that you can get notified when that releases. Probably like November 25th, I think. I'm not 100% sure when in November I will be doing my shop update, but that's neither here nor there right now. I'm getting super off topic. I apologize. So, for Great Expectations, this is a book that I read when I was in high school. And I remember almost nobody in my class when I was in high school actually liking that book. Um, and I loved it. So I will talk about that a little bit more once I start going over the review pages. But I did also want to mention that I am also using just the regular lace PET sets from the washi tape shop for the rest of the book setups as well. There was a black one, a green one, like a super muted, like reddish, deep pink tape. And I think there's another one too, but I don't remember I think it's white. I think the last one is white, which technically I could have used that one for Great Expectations, but too late now. So I used the black lace tape for Fragile Facade, and I'm also going to use that black lace tape for Forever as well. And then I will be using like the super muted red, like deep pink one for Caught Up, just because I don't really have a lot of red materials. So I thought that it complemented the color well of the cover. So I just kind of went with that. And then I chose a Tombow marker that I will be using to do all of my coloring for both Fragile Facade and Forever. And surprisingly, like when I was doing the recap pages for these, I didn't notice until I started coloring everything in that those book covers are almost exactly the same colors. So it worked out almost perfectly, and I just basically used the exact same materials for both of those pages. And then for the Caught Up book, I'm going to be using a mild liner in like a deep red color. Unfortunately, the color that I have for that mild liner is not written in English, so I'm not actually sure what the name of the color is. I do know that it was I think the most recent release, the 2025 release for the mild liners for this year, and I bought those earlier this year as well. So I am going to finish getting all of these actual pages set up, and then I will go in and do all of my recaps and filling in all of the actual data that I like to keep on the page. So next to each book cover, I will write the book cover name or the book name, the author, the format in which I read the book, and the genre of the book as well. And then I will have usually my star rating. I also usually include dates read on here too, but for some reason this month I did not even think about that. So that isn't going to be on my spreads this month, but probably next month or for July. I imagine that those might be back on there again. Who knows? Who knows? I didn't read a lot of books in July either, which is really sad because usually July is my month where I read the most. So I was a little bit shocked with how little I read just since June for the most part. So I will go ahead and get these all finished set up. And then once I start going in and filling in the data for each book, I will come and tell you my thoughts on each one. In a few moments here, you're going to see me pull out my little reading companion notebook, and that notebook is one that I carry around with me. It's super, super tiny. That way I can make notes on books. I can write down quotes or thoughts like as I'm reading, just in case I want to write something down when I'm actually doing my review pages. So the first book that I'm going to do for my review pages is going to be Great Expectations. And I did already mention that for that particular book, it was actually a reread. I think it was my first reread of the year. And I decided to reread that one because I remembered loving it in high school. And I have a copy of it. I purchased a copy of it ages ago, and I just never actually sat down and read it. And I believe in May, I had a nonfiction challenge, and I had not nonfiction, a classic challenge maybe that I wanted to use this book for, and I just never ended up finishing it. I will say that this book really challenged my brain because I had to think really, really hard about what the characters were actually saying because of the way that everything was written. And I absolutely forgot about that. So, like, my brain was exhausted by the time I finished this one. I did still love it. I love Pip. He's a good character, and I really enjoyed the book. So I did give this one 4 stars. I think that's almost the exact same rating I would have given it while I was in high school. So I was quite pleased with that, even though it did take me over a full month to read. The next book that I read was Fragile Facade by Nordika Knight, and I was super, super excited to read this book. It actually released, I believe, in June, maybe at the end of May. I think it was June that it released. And I was just I was smitten with Soren and Killian in this book. Those are the characters. I just loved it. They gave me God of Fury vibes. And if you watched my reading journal videos from last year, you will know that I loved God of Fury. And I have reread that book several times since my first read of it. So those are the kind of vibes that I got from these two characters. I just really, really enjoyed them. And I do have some notes in here that I had written. I loved this book more than the first one. So I'm a little bit shocked that I gave it 4 stars because if I loved this more than the first book, I think that would be like a 5 star read. I don't know. I might have to revisit that rating. I do not know. They were traumatizing me though. The two characters in this book, I was so invested and just like the two of them together, like they traumatized me. Um, it is a dark romance, so of course, trigger warnings and all that good stuff. But I, again, loved it so much, and I don't even know what to say about it without spoiling the entire book. So I'm not going to say much else, but if you read the first book in this series and you liked it, definitely read this one too if you have not already. The next book that I read for the month of June was Foursome by Sloane Kennedy. And if I'm being completely honest with you, when I first found this book, I don't even know how I found it, if just completely honest again, like I don't know how I came across this book. But I thought that this was going to be a book that I would just like delete off my Goodreads profile after I read it. Uh I thought it was going to be like one of those books that I would be embarrassed to admit that I read because it's probably going to be so like dirty, and it was not. It was shockingly wholesome. It's actually like a book with 4 male characters. It's a romance book with 4 male characters, and I went into it thinking it was just going to be 100% smut 100% of the time, and that's not what I got. Um I don't even know how to describe it because I was just shocked. It was very heartwarming. The characters really helped all each other grow. My biggest hang up was that like the miscommunication trope is like super heavily used in that book, and that's one of my least favorite tropes. Like I do not enjoy miscommunication tropes. So that was in here quite a bit. But that was probably the biggest thing that I didn't like about that particular book. I really enjoyed all of the characters, and there is a couple of things you might want to check trigger warnings for uh, in this one, but they're all like maybe like taboo things, kind of. So if any of that kind of stuff bothers you, you might want to check your trigger warnings. but there wasn't too much like darkness, quote unquote, in this particular one. It was very wholesome, I think. That's like the best word that I can think of to actually describe how the book made me feel. But yes, it was good. Now I'm gonna talk about Caught Up, even though I'm not technically. Well, I'm starting it right now. So I was really excited for Caught Up. I was very, very excited for Caught Up because I loved Lights Out so much. I gave Lights Out 5 stars last year and I just loved it. I'd been looking forward to this release and started it as soon as I could get my hands on it. I'm pretty sure like I ordered the book before it had even released. Um, which I hate doing because like I can never access it immediately when it's available when I do that, but that's not even anything to do with this. So I ordered it before it was even released because I was so excited for this book. And then at around like 39%, I had written in my notes here that I am not having nearly as much fun of a time with this book as I expected to. I'm not sure what it is, but it just isn't capturing me, or at least it hasn't yet. Hopefully that will change soon. Fingers crossed. That's what I wrote in my little reading companion notebook. And then at 60%, I said, I kind of want to DNF this. And then the last note that I have was, well, I finished at 100%. I expected more. I couldn't connect with the characters, and I was so bored the entire time. And that's pretty much just the stuff that I was writing about in my review on the page there. Not too many spoilers, just how I just didn't really connect with this book. The only thing that I liked about it was all of the cameos from the characters from Lights Out. So I guess that was a good thing. That's probably the only reason it got that 2.5 stars. If the other characters weren't in it, I probably would have got 2 stars. The last thing that I'm doing here is just coloring in Pip's name on Great Expectations, and then we're going to go ahead and flip through. I would love to know if you read any of these books down in the comments below. Let me know what your thoughts were. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!